Let's make some print and cut stickers with the Cricut Maker right now. Hey there, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I am in Cricut Design Space, and I am going to show you how to make some print and cut stickers today. And I'm going to be using these amazing spring flowers, like watercolor flowers, that I downloaded from Creative Fabrica. So I will link those to in the video description if you're interested. They're very pretty, and it comes with several other flowers as well as several patterns. So not the most inexpensive set, but really cool. And then I also have this sentiment from a different set that I'll link to as well. So as you probably know, Cricut Design Space does not have an offset function, which I personally feel like is the biggest problem with this software. There's a lot that's right about it. That is one thing that is really, really missing. So it's very difficult to put a border around anything easily. And that's a totally separate video, so I'm not going to get into that today. But I'm just going to let you know that I will not be putting borders on these today. I am going to print and cut them like without a border. So a couple of things I want you to think about when you're picking images to use for stickers. And so I'm going to pull these down on top of these black circles down here so you can see the difference. Let me zoom in. Now you notice on this one there are a lot of open spaces and very, very thin like stem lines here, and it's going to be virtually impossible for your maker. I'm going to make these on the Maker, like really any of the machines, to cut this well because these lines are so skinny. So what I would recommend you do is fill in behind them, as I have done here. As you'll kind of notice, I have stuck some white ovally shapes behind the areas that were really, really skinny or like full of tiny holes, to just fill them in and make it easier for them to work as stickers. I know from experience that these do not cut well if you don't do that. So that's just something to think about when you're trying to determine images that you want to use for print and cut stickers. But very quickly, let me show you how I filled these in. So I would take a shape, whatever you think is going to work best. I did a circle and I unlocked the proportions on it, and then I kind of reshaped it and then was dragging the top over it, and then I usually go over to the layers panel on the right to select the lower shape because it's a little bit tricky to get that to fit just correctly, or to select that when it's below something that's kind of big. And so I've pretty much got that leafy shape filled in. I might pull that out a little bit more. Yeah. So I would get it kind of like that. As you can see over here, I wasn't too concerned about getting it perfect because there's just no way to do that. And then with the black circle selected, I'm going to go up here to the operation box in the upper left. This was formerly called the line type box before the last update. And just click on white to turn that black circle white. And then I'm going to click and drag to select both of these, the flowers and the circle behind it, and then go down here to flatten. You don't want to weld, because let me show you what happens if I weld. The whole thing turns white because basically you are welding the shape on top into the properties of the shape below it, and we don't want that, obviously. So I'm going to undo and select them again. So you want to go down here, and instead you want to flatten, as you see here. And that will kind of squish them together into one flattened image. And so I just went around and did that behind all the areas that were like super lacy or weren't going to cut well until I got to this version. So that is my advice on with images where it just doesn't, there's too many holes or too delicate for you to really cut them as is as a sticker. It doesn't really take that long. It was pretty easy to do. Okay, and then my last step is to take my rectangle that is a little bit bigger than my greeting and weld the or flatten these together because I want to have a background behind my greeting. And again, since we can't offset it, this was the best thing I could come up with. So I'm gonna kind of try to eyeball center on this, and then I'm gonna click and drag to select both items, and then go up here to align, and I'm gonna center horizontally, and that shifted a tiny bit, and then center vertically. Or actually, I could just hit center. All right, so that gets that centered perfectly on top of the little rectangle. Now I want to change the rectangle from pink to white. I had pink so you could see it, so I'm going to go back up here to the fill box next to the basic cut drop down as we did before and change that to white. And then I'm going to click and drag to select them both, and again go down to the lower right and flatten them. And then I want to make 3 of these, so I'm going to hit duplicate twice over here on the top of the layers panel on the right. So I've got 3 of them. And I want a second one of these, so I'm going to hit duplicate again, and I'll have a second one of these. Now with the Cricut Maker, you do have some constraints on how big you can make something in order to do a print then cut image. And the software will tell you that it's 6 3/4 by 9 1/4 or 9 3/4. However, I found a way around that, which is let the machine decide how it wants to arrange it on the mat. So as long as you've duplicated, you have the number of objects that you want to make stickers out of. I think it's really easy to then just have them on the mat however you want them, and then go over to the upper right and click make it. And that's going to allow the software to decide how to put it on the mat. So you'll notice that this is almost 8 inches wide and like almost 8.5 long. So granted, that's not over like the 9 3/4 limit, but it is past the 6 3/4 limit. So just a little interesting thing that happens if you just let the software decide how to arrange them on the page. All right, now when we print then cut, it's very important that this box be printed and stay where it is, because that is what the machine is going to read, the lines basically, to determine where your stickers are in order to cut them correctly. Now we see that they're print and cut, so I'm going to go down here to continue because everything looks good as far as I'm concerned on the mat. And the first thing we're going to do is print these. So I'm going to send to printer. A couple things to note on the print setup box. This green on switch here, this add bleed switch. Adding bleed means that it's going to, when it prints out the image, it's going to make it a little bit bigger than you want it. Like it's going to add, so that when it cuts the image out, it'll be cutting over or inside of the image so that you don't get any white halo around the cut lines. So it kind of enlarges it just a touch to give it that extra border around the cut line, so when it cuts, it doesn't cut into any white or non-printed area. So I would say you want that on. The other thing I would say you want to do is turn on your use system dialog box, which is just click it here to green and then hit print. So here's my system dialog box, and the thing you want to do with yours is find your preferences tab. And then in here, you're going to change the print quality to high. Like whatever the highest quality is you have on your printer, that's what you want to go to. Now, depending on the type of sticker paper that you are printing on, you may also want to change the media type. I'm going to print on matte sticker paper today, so plain paper works for that. If you were going to print on glossy sticker paper, My suggestion would be to change this to photo paper glossy of some kind, or glossy photo paper, you know, just so that your printer knows it's printing on a glossy surface. All right, so I've got that set to high. I'm going to hit OK and then print, and my printer will print the items. Okay, my stickers have printed, and the last thing I need to do is set my base material. So I'm going to go over here to browse all materials, and the material that seems to work the best for my thin sticker paper, I don't want it to cut through the back, I want it to just cut through the top layer, is washi sheet down here at the very bottom. Now, if remembering that is going to be too hard, or maybe your material needs to be a slightly different setting than this, what I would do is create your own material, and you do that by going into material settings, scrolling all the way to the bottom, which is long, especially with the Cricut Maker, and then do add new material. I have a detailed tutorial on how to do this in my Cricut Joy sticker video that I will link to at the end. So if you are interested in doing that, that is how you would go about doing it. Another thing I want to point out here is, like washi sheet, the pressure, because this column is pressure, is 85. And so I would try it on that first. If it works, then, but you want to create your own material, like you want to say, you want to name it, you know, sticker paper or whatever, then I would set it to the pressure of 85 when you're doing your custom material. But that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, so I've chosen washi sheet, and then I also want to make the pressure more. I find that that helps a bit. That's the last part we need to see in Design Space. We'll head to the machine. Okay, so here are my printed stickers. Pretty nice. I'm going to put them on a regular standard grip mat in the upper left. So you can see the black box around this. That's like the registration marks, basically, that the machine is going to read in order to know where to cut the stickers. So you'll see it do that in a second. So I'm going to just feed my mat into the little feeder things there. I've got my fine point blade in. I'm going to hit load mat. And then I'm going to hit go. And it's going to read the registration marks and then cut. Okay, I'm going to check it before I unload it. Alright, it does appear that it has cut through. So I'm going to unload the mat. And I'm going to flip the mat over. I'm going to cut the bottom off the sheet before I leave. So there they are, weeded out. Took, you know, it's a little tricky to weed, but that's because of all these sort of fancy little edges that we've got on them. But it worked really well, and now I have fabulous new print and cut stickers. And what I did with them is made them into this cool card. So I just hope you like them. And that's how you make some pretty fun spring print and cut stickers with the Cricut Maker. Here are some close-ups of the stickers as well as the card I made with them. The whole project was actually really a lot easier than you might think it is, so I encourage you to give it a shot. And thank you so much for watching. If you got something out of the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing to my channel. Here's that Cricut Joy video I mentioned with customizing material details as well as the Cricut playlist. Thanks so much. Have a great day.